I'd like you to close your eyes. I want you to think of the place that you call home. The place that formed your identity, that you think of when you need strength. You go back there. What did it feel like to walk through the doors? What did it feel like looking at it from outside? And as you entered into that space, what did you hear? All the comforting sounds, the number of ways that your memory comes through your hearing. Think about the smells that you smell. Maybe Mum's cooking, that special meal that she cooked just for you when you came home. The smell of the frangipani or another flower that wafts through the window. Think about how that is your memory of home. Think about the emotion now of what home means to you, the importance of that emotion. What's one way, in one word, you would describe what home means to you? I want to leave you with one other emotion. I want you to think of one emotion. If I took your home away. You may now open your eyes. From the map behind me, you can see that this country has always been an extremely multicultural country. You'll see the different colours represent different nations, different languages, different stories, different connections to their home. It's not just land, it's home. It's important to acknowledge their connection to home because their stories are connected. Somewhere out there, one of those trees, someone taught someone how to hunt and find honey in that tree. Someone taught, maybe an older brother taught a younger sister how to swim in that creek. Someone taught another person how to take that seed which is toxic and to leach the poisons out so they can make bread. They're the stories that connect each one of those different groups, each with their own language, each with their own connections to their homelands, each with their own memories that exist, a connection to a country, a space, a place. Connecting to country is something we all can do. You know a place that is special to you. You know a place that you call your own. Be it sitting on the rocks at the beach or sitting at a nice private part of a beach, that is the place that you feel connected to. So I'm going to share with you some strategies of how you can learn to connect to a place. Because I think we have a problem across the world, and especially in our country, and that people don't understand how connecting to place creates their identity. We're proud of who we are as a state. We're proud of who we are as a people, as a nation, but we still don't have a connection to a country. That's what I see when I talk to my students. I'm going to give you some strategies of how to connect to the place where you are. But let me tell you about my home, story of my family, and I'll share with on my father's side, his grandfather, and my own grandmother on my mother's side. And I'll share their stories because we come from country, Jirrbal country, which is the purple area you can see magnified there, but also the brown country north of it called Yalangi. And the beautiful part of that world is a place called Mossman Gorge. Who's been to Mossman Gorge? You know you feel healing when you walk through that canopy. You know when you step into the water, you feel the connectedness that we all feel when we touch the cool water in the rainforest space. That is home for my family on my dad's side. In fact, Harry Mossman, at the age of 5, was taken away from his country. Even though the police said that he was well cared for, had clothes, was well fed, they still took him away. He was arrested at the age of 5. And even though his mother asked the white employees that she had to write letters to ask for him back, he was sent at the age of 5 to a place called Yarrabah, which is just south of Cairns, and stayed there until he was 50. Under what we call the Aboriginal Act. Now, that act was constructed as a sense of protecting Aboriginal people. Because colonisation was coming through, people were taking land, shooting first, asking questions after. And a lot of people were pushed to the fringes of society. And my great-granddad and his mum were also taken away from their home. She was taken as well to Yarrabah and was able to at least fight for 45 years for his release from under what was called the Act. But there's a catch to the Act, because if you get released from the Act, which happened at 50 for him, you weren't allowed to go back home. You weren't allowed to associate with those people that we all call family. You had to disassociate from them. So at the age of 50, and he passed on just after 60, he was allowed to at least know he was free, but was never allowed to go home again. On my grandmother's side, we come from country which is on the border of Jirrbal country. And this is the station, Gunnawarra Station. And I look at it with sadness because I know that the family was moved from Gunnawarra Station because of the flu that was going through and was killing a lot of Aboriginal workers. And the Atkinson family said, we don't want you to leave, but we know you're dying. People are dying in the family, so we have to ask for you to be relocated. And so my grandmother and her oldest son were relocated and sent to Palm Island. And I had the pleasure of taking my uncle back at the age of 70 to walk on the land of his birth again. And we went to a native title function where we could actually learn who and where we come from on that land. And to see a 70-year-old man walking around to the elders and saying, "Where is my country? Who are my people up here?" At 70, he was finally told, "Your family come from a place called Tiger Hill." And I feel at least some resolution there, that even though he was disconnected for over 60 years, he at least knows where his family come from. I'm going to share with you another story. People say, "Well, this happened so long ago, why should we care? It's not our fault. We weren't there." I'll share with you a story about what happened at a place called Mapoon. There's 2 Mapoons, which a student told me the other day. He made sure I understood there's 2 Mapoons. There's Old Maroon and New Mapoon. Now, Old Maroon is what I want to talk to you about today, because without Old Maroon, we would never have New Mapoon. Near midnight on the 15th of November in 1963, police showed up in a boat at what is called Old Maroon, and they told people, "You have to leave." And people didn't have a chance to even pack anything, just the clothes on their back. And as they were forced out of their home, that which they know of Mapoon, they didn't own the land, but they built the homes on there. They were then sent to New Mapoon, 200 kilometres north. And as they were leaving on that prison ship, their houses were burnt to the ground. Only one house still remains there from before 1963. You may know of the song by Midnight Oil about beds are burning. It's based on Mapoon. Those people say and call it still the night that Mapoon burned, or simply the burning. Place is really important for all of us, isn't it? Think about your home. Think about the things in your home that make it important. The positive I can share with you about Mapoon is that they have returned to Old Mapoon, and they have been fighting for many years. And over the last 15 years, they've been leading the way in asking government to allow them to own their own homes. You may think that's something that everyone has the right to do. No, in some of our remote communities, they don't own the land, they don't own the home. But Mapoon people have been fighting to own their home, to make it more than just a house, to make it a home. So I want you to think about your place. I want to give you a strategy. We developed a space that allows people to connect. Not just our Indigenous people, the elders sharing with the young people, but everyone. I want to teach you how to connect to the land on which you live, because that will develop your identity. And this is what we do in this space. We had over 150 people yesterday connecting through culture, learning dance. This is a smoking ceremony to cleanse the air, to cleanse the spirits, to offer freshness. You can take part in that. You can develop an understanding of how you connect to this place we call home. People come and do tours with Uncle Russell from all over the world, as you can see here, and they share their interconnectedness. And some people who are in this picture are in this room right now. They learnt how animals, plants, humans, insects symbiotically relate to each other. And then they connect to the country in which they're walking. Through an Indigenous lens, they develop an Indigenous connection to country. So I offer that to all of you today. You can also learn these strategies. There's two things you have to do. One is listen. Take the time to be quiet on the land on which you walk. Listen to the Indigenous people, the First Nation people, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people on the land in which you live today. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Listen to them. And where you can't find Indigenous people in that place because they've been removed and relocated, then still listen to the land. Know the story of those people. I was in Brazil 2 years ago, and the same thing was happening there, where people had been relocated. That I went to Indigenous villages, and they were living in the space between the highway and the farm. And they were just asking people to come and visit and listen. The other thing is stand with us. I'm going to do something that you probably haven't done before, but I'd like you all to stand and hold hands. Close your eyes. In this space, as you stand, I ask you to stand with that person next to you and understand that the one thing that connects you is that you are all humans. And we all reside on this planet. And the way, through an Indigenous way of connecting, just listen and stand with each other. Stand with the Indigenous people that are fighting to reclaim their country. And if you don't think it still happens, 5 years ago, people were forced out of their community in Umbulgari in Western Australia. They were forced to leave their homes. By force, I mean they turned off all services first, schools, health clinics. And then they said, well, people didn't leave for that reason. They then made sure the water was turned off and the electricity was turned off. This is 5 years ago, people. And then when people still didn't leave, they had private security come in and push them off to another town. So as you stand and hold hands with that other person, I want you to think of that emotion you thought of at the beginning. That painful emotion if I took your home away. And magnify that by 3,000 generations. If you don't know the person you're holding hands with, imagine their family. Family that you've lost already. Family that aren't here at the moment. And think, what if I didn't have them in my life? Think about how terrible it would feel if your home was taken away from you. And lastly, I want to put one positive, hopeful emotion in your head. So with your eyes closed still, I want you to think, imagine, by standing with Indigenous people and by connecting to the land, how would it feel to be reconnected to your home? You may open your eyes. If you aren't able to listen, if you aren't able to stand with us, how will we survive on this planet that we all call home? Thank you.